Yeah.
So this is what they do, right? They look at the right hand so you don't see what the left hand is doing. And here's one thing that I will say as far as the macro point of view. First off, you have to go back through this speech and ask yourself, and most people don't ask themselves this. This is the problem we have with a country when you have people, particularly now you have a generation coming up of people who have been brought up to vilify businesses, brought up to see race as the sole differentiating factor, brought up to not contribute or not at least think that their contributions should create a net result, that they should be granted a net result regardless of their contributions.
Yeah.
This is the issue that we have here in this country right now is, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. I'm trying to be as reductive as possible. And I say this because sometimes you'll get people on these panels, and let's be clear, with CNN right now, what do they have to do? They have to use as many words as possible to make as few points as possible.
Yeah.
Some producers doing this stretch out the time. It's really simple. If you look at Donald Trump's speech, any of his speeches, it was, hey, we're giving the power to you, we're giving you more freedoms. If you look at this speech, it's, we're going to take them away for your own good. Look, all the things that they vilified Donald Trump for, reducing taxes, encouraging economies to reopen, right, with the pandemic, reducing red tape and regulations. You're welcome for the vaccines. Also lower drug prices than we've ever seen in modern American history.
Yep.
No new wars. Right? Let's create some relief for businesses. Not give them money, but create an economy. Give them tax breaks. Hey, you're welcome for a $5,000 average annual increase in 3 years. 5 years under Barack Obama, $1,000 under former Vice President Joe Biden. If you look at what's important is to distill this, to be reductive, which I think is important because a lot of people don't have the time to pay attention. People know how they feel, right? This visceral reaction they get. And often it's a fake reaction because it's sort of stoked by the media. Hey, I'm mad at Donald Trump. And now you'll get some people on the right, Republicans, maybe who are tuning into Fox News. Maybe some of you watching this right now saying, hey, I'm mad at Joe Biden. Well, don't get mad because you see me bad at doing an impression of Maxine Waters, this animal from the Great Muppet Caper.
It was good.
If you want to be mad because you go to loudandclear.com, check the sources. We have Congress.gov, we have Whitehouse.gov, we have Forbes, we have Washington Post, we have Vox. The link is in the description. Get mad because you've researched it. But again, what's important is to look at why people are mad. Not just what the one person is saying, but who their enemies are. The enemies of Donald Trump, the people who were mad with Donald Trump, what they were mad at is he's reducing taxes. Okay, listen, you're mad at more freedoms. You're mad at people keeping more of their money. We're mad that he's encouraging states to reopen here. Okay, you're mad at people having more freedoms.
Yeah.
We're mad that he's actually creating an environment where people are investing more. We need to tax capital gains more. Why isn't he increasing capital gains? Okay, you're mad that he's offering people more freedom to make their own investments. We're mad that he's opening up fracking and energy, and look, and he's actually he's not subsidizing. Okay, so you're mad that he's allowing people to invest in technology and in goods and services as
energy that's going to help all of us.
It's like Tim Scott's doing his rebuttal.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, we'll go to it afterwards. I don't think everyone necessarily needs to watch this because I don't have anything against Tim Scott, but I think we'll do a better job. Now you look at Joe Biden. Right, what am I mad about? What is everyone here mad about? Well, he wants to increase taxes on everybody. Okay, all right, so now you want to take more money out of her pocket. He's obviously encouraged people to shut down. He's obviously encouraged some type of mandatory vaccine program, or at least
passport,
as we're talking about in dealing with commerce. Okay, he's infringing on our rights there. He's talking about doubling capital gains taxes. He's talking about putting our kids in school for an extra 4 years at the taxpayer dime and funding critical race theory. And by the way, just throwing more money at it. Okay, I'm upset about that.
Second Amendment.
Right? He's talking about taking away your firearms. And by the way, doing it under the guise of violent crime has increased. Yeah, it's increased because of the kind of policies that you've stoked. Yep. He's talking about keeping our cities less safe. The only things that he actually vilified are the few, and this is the question everyone has to ask. When you watch this, is that the legitimate purview of government? Now, the good thing is you don't have to guess. You have the Constitution, you have the Bill of Rights, right? At least consider it the map to your stars, right? That's not these aren't hard and fast rules. I would say they are, but let's say that you don't necessarily believe that. You're not an originalist. You have the Constitution, right? That's a start. So what are we mad about? We're mad about, is this a legitimate purview of government? That's what we have to ask ourselves. The only things that he vilified repeatedly in his speech were the legitimate purviews of government. He was saying it's the government's job to create shovel-ready jobs for you. It's the government's job to determine winners and losers in the market. It's the government's job to take half Think about that for a second. They act like they're being a benevolent leader. Well, look, only 39%, that's fair. He acts like that's the legitimate purview of government. What is he not like? Cops and military. Cops and military. One of the few very basic, legitimate functions of government to keep people safe. Yeah. Again, you look at the Constitution, you look at the Declaration of Independence, you look at the Bill of Rights, you look at all of the corroborating founding documents. We've done a lot of videos on this. For example, like separation of church and state. I recommend looking up the letter to the Danbury Baptists. We've talked about the letter of marque and reprisal. I believe it was from Thomas Jefferson to a private ship. So you can find all these links on the website. Just type in founding documents, Thomas Jefferson. You'll find some of these articles, probably hundreds of them. When you look at the legitimate purview of government and you understand, okay, it's to keep the people safe. It's not to determine winners. Look, we're talking about founding fathers who started blowing people's heads off for a tax on a breakfast beverage. They started shooting people. They started a war across the ocean with the most powerful empire that had ever existed up until that point for what would be the equivalent to 2 cents increase on your Irish breakfast, your bergamot tea. What is it? Earl Grey.
Earl Grey.
I'm not a tea drinker. Earl Grey tea.
Earl Grey.
You think they would tolerate a 50% tax on money that's already been taxed? Again, it comes down to what's the legitimate purview of government. You ask this question. The only things that he vilified are the very few roles that we need. Do we look, I'm a Republican, we're libertarians. People would say, we're libertarians, you just believe in chaos and anarchy. Would anyone here say that we don't need a military?
No.
No, I think we all would agree we need a military.
Yep.
Would we all agree that we need some kind of police force?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Would we all agree that we need some kind of centralized government agency just to make sure that people aren't breaking the rules and the laws and, let's say, financially abusing people?
That's
right.
Small as possible.
Now,
right, yep.
By contrast, do we think it's the government's job to pay for all education aged 3 through 22? Do we think it's the government's job to spend $6 trillion to entirely redesign an economy from the ground up that didn't ask for it?
No.
None of it. When people say, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, you see people out there, and look, I won't even name names, but I'm sure you can guess. People I've had on my show, people who I like, who I respect personally, but say, I'm not an ideologue. It's not left versus right. I take it on each issue. Well, guess what? If you just take it on individual issues and you don't have a lens through which to filter it, maybe that's how you end up confused by this speech. You do have to start off with, all right, what is the legitimate central role of government? And specifically, what is that in this country? Because it's not the same in Canada, where they're now arresting political dissidents, by the way, for protesting lockdowns. Arrested in Canada. You have to say, what is the legitimate role of government? What is the legitimate role of government in this country? And maybe that brings you down the trail to why this country is different from every other country that existed before it. Or as former Vice President Joe Biden might refer to it, a great disappointment. It really comes to distill it comes down to Donald Trump was saying, hey, look, this can be a great country if we give you more choice and give you more power and we step out of the way. Sure, he sent some mean tweets, but that was the theme of all of his speeches that got Democrats furious. We need more reform for police. We need more money for school. We need more lockdowns. We need more mask mandates. We need more economic equality, not equal outcomes. What's equity? Sorry, they don't believe in equality. They believe in equity. And by the way, they cannot happen at the same time. Determining equity cannot be done in an atmosphere that allows for equality. It can't be done. It can only exist in an environment where you're attacking a meritocracy. Okay, so let's be really clear. Equity, and I know these are the people you'll see out there say, I take it on an individual issue basis. Okay, well then you can't explain to someone why equity is bullshit and equality is righteous. So this is what, it really does matter. You don't have to be an ideologue, but you do have to understand not only the basis of this country, but the basis of the reason for this country, and read the Constitution. Everyone was mad at Donald Trump because he said this country is great, it's always been great, and I think it can be great again if we give it back to you. Joe Biden has said this country hasn't always been great, we have a lot of flaws, we have a lot of mistakes, but you know what? The good news is you can overcome it if you give me more control and $6 trillion to do so. Otherwise, it's a horrible racist cesspool of filth and sadness. I'm sorry. I just don't. Look, this is what I've said. Republicans need you to be optimistic, need you to believe in yourself, or conservatives for them to win. If they're the party of the rich, they want you to be rich. If Democrats are the party of the poor, then they want you to be poor. That's why they want a voting base of people who come in from caravans from countries where they're lucky to make $2 a week, because they want you to be poor. They want you to believe that you cannot help yourself, but Joe Biden can. That's really what it comes down to.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.